He stood with our farmers. And on foreign policy, we stopped trying to find a new Jeffersonian democracy to build out of sand and blood and Arab militias in the Middle East. Matter of fact, President Trump, I believe, is the first president in my lifetime that didn't start any new wars. This is an issue that I know unites some elements of the right and left for the benefit of our communities.
Will the House be in order?
This government for far too long has been deeply corrupt. This town has been deeply corrupt. The way people get leadership positions and chairmanships and opportunities to be able to morally preen has been by accepting lobbyist and special interest money and redistributing that money as currency for favors. And that is not a criticism of either political party. It is a criticism of what we have allowed to happen in this place. And if we just go next man up on our side of the aisle, we will reify that corrupt system and we will abandon the people who are expecting us to fight for them.
The question we described a little bit earlier on how Republicans are going to use the debt ceiling to try to attack Social Security and Medicare. But the good news here is that thanks to your all's turning out and everyone else in the country turning out, well, we have a Republican House, we also have a Democratic Senate and we have a Democratic President of the United States. And I know that so long as we have a Democratic Senate and presidency, they are going to be highly, highly committed to protecting Social Security and Medicare from these kinds of cuts. So
Biden has a history of trying to cut Social Security. Are you kidding me?
Okay, sir. So I mean, here's what I'll say.
His entire career has made it so that Social Security is in danger.
So here's
the reason why his state has all the credit card companies, because money loves him. So don't come to us and tell us that he cares. He does not.
So I hear you. Listen, I hear you.
She hasn't talked to his life. All he's been doing is talking. And I am a nobody. You had a lot of time to talk. TV, Twitter.
All right, sir. I understand, sir.
She is disappointed in you and the rest of the CEOs.
I understand, sir. I'm trying to answer the question. All right. Here's what I will say. Sir. I understand. Now, and listen. I hear you, sir. And here's the thing, is that I don't think there's any secret here that the president and I have our political differences, okay? But what I will say is that with the Dem Senate and also despite the fact that Republicans have the majority, their majority is this big. It's really, really, really slim. And they are thinking politically. And when you have a margin this big, and I will tell you, what I anticipate is that in the House, all 212 Democratic votes are going to be a solid no on cuts to Social Security and Medicare, period. My vote will be a no on any cuts to Social Security, Medicare, WIC, EBT, anything, period. So I will tell you, as your Congresswoman, for me, it's an absolutely, I will never, ever, ever allow that and work to do everything in my power to not let that happen. Now, what I will say is also politically, this is not an easy move for Republicans to do. And I want to be real about that. They may want to do it, but they internally are very upset that something like that is coming to the floor because their most right of the right wing may be okay with that. But just look right here in New York. We've got, well, first of all, we don't even know if George Santos is going to finish his term. We're just going to bring them even slimmer. I'm just keeping it real. That's going to bring their margin even slimmer. You've got Westchester County that just swung by very small amounts. That's going to be tough for a representative in Westchester County to vote to cut Medicare, Social Security, EBT. So it's not as easy as they want it to be. Now, Kevin McCarthy's in a tough situation because he's a weak leader, as we saw from the first. He's a weak leader, and he's dramatically weakened after what happened in that first week because he made so many promises. Because Kevin McCarthy made so many promises that first week that he's lost track of everything that he gave away. And so as a result, it's going to be very hard because he created a lot of contention within his own caucus, which actually creates opportunities for us. So one of the things that we just want to I'm laying out the landscape for you all, and I believe that we're going to do everything in our power to protect those cuts. Now, they're holding everything hostage, but I can let you know, I cannot speak for everybody else, but I can speak for myself. And what I can tell you is that there is no way I would ever vote in approval to make those cuts and to protect our community. Thank you.
Joining us tonight is a father named Doug from Newton, New Hampshire. He wrote Jill, my wife, a letter, and me as well, about his courageous daughter, Courtney. A contagious laugh, his sister's best friend, her sister's best friend. He shared a story all too familiar to millions of Americans and many of you in the audience. Courtney discovered pills in high school. It spiraled into addiction and eventually death from a fentanyl overdose. She was just 20 years old. Describing the last 8 years without her, Doug said, "There's no worse pain." Yet their family has turned pain to purpose, working to end the stigma and change laws. He told us he wants to start a journey toward American recovery. Doug, we're with you. Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year. You got it. So let's launch a major surge to stop fentanyl production and the sale and trafficking with more drug detection machines, inspection cargo, stop pills and powder at the border. Working with couriers like FedEx to inspect more packages for drugs. Strong penalties to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. Second, let's do more on mental health, especially for our children. When millions of young people are struggling with bullying, violence, trauma, we owe them greater access to mental health care at their schools. We must finally hold social media companies accountable for experimenting they're doing running children for profit. And it's time to pass bipartisan legislation to stop big tech from collecting personal data on our kids and teenagers online, ban targeted advertising to children, and impose stricter limits on the personal data that companies collect on all of us. Third, let's do more to keep this nation's one truly sacred obligation to equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home. Job training,
manipulating it and perverting it into something that was never meant to be. Donald J. Trump is innocent. This is election. It is a tool for the Democrats to try to hijack the 2024 presidential election. This is a travesty, and I'm here as a representative and a member of Congress to take a stand using my First Amendment right to speak out against this. This should never happen in America, ever. And every single American should be concerned. They're coming after President Trump today, and they will come after you tomorrow. President Trump did nothing wrong. They have nothing to stand on. This administration has ripped our borders wide open. This administration is on the verge of World War III. This administration administration is sexualizing children and trying to change their gender. This administration is a failure. Who's the top Republican candidate for president for 2024. We cannot tolerate this injustice in the United States of America. No more.
Yeah!
To the world like President Trump did, not World War III like Joe Biden. We're the party of economic prosperity. We're the party where every American can live the American dream. But the Democrats are the communists. Democrats are the communists, and they are destroying America, destroying freedom. Democrats are the ones that have nothing to campaign for because they are failures, and they're proving it today. I want to thank the New York City Young Republicans for organizing this protest. I want to thank
USA! 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 USA!
President Trump will this witch hunt will we will not tolerate it. We will not tolerate the hate of the left. God bless America. God bless President Trump. God bless MAGA.
And so that being said, that's how we approach all lawmaking, all legislating. So it's not just the NDAA, but we have government funding. So that's known as the appropriations process. Every single government agency, from the VA to Medicare to Social Security to the Department of Interior, National Forest Service, they all have to get authorized. And so if any of you all ever are organizing around a specific provision, we are happy to work around that and see if we can fit it in. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so
if we have a piece of paper, you are welcome to write your question on a piece of paper.
Yeah, so
and submit it.
all right.
We are happy to take your question. You just write it down. All right.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask those who are booing, don't boo for right now. We have some people because I'm trying to think the kids. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I understand.
If you have a question, you can write it. You can write it down and submit it.
So thank you
So
so
you can
much.
write your question on the paper and submit it.
So thank you so much to our constituents for joining us in this very riveting, obviously very riveting evening. We want to thank, firstly, the Corona Arts and Sciences Academy, especially Mr. Brennan Stafford, for hosting us. Thank you so much to our interpreters, Aldo Resendiz, Hillary Mercedes, Roshan Ali, Sam Geffen, and MK Adams, as well as transcription services by Andrew Hansen, Randy Moore. I could do this all day. You can always contact our offices by calling 718-662-5970. I'm gonna repeat the number again. It's 718-662-5970 if you would like to call the Congressman's office. If you would like to meet the Congresswoman, please form a line down the middle in a very orderly fashion. Just give me 1 second before everyone starts moving. If you would like to meet the Congressman, if you would like a photo, please line up in the middle, snake out to the left, and then...
Pam, in your congressional district, Pleasant Hill, asks, what can be done to restore abortion reproductive rights to women and protect all doctors and medical personnel from being prosecuted?
Again, elections matter, and we have to win elections, and then we have to get judges who respect precedent and the rule of law. And but we can't wait on the Supreme Court and the federal judges. We have to take, and we've been supporters and co-authors of a number of bills that will do everything we can to make sure that there are funds out there and there is a support system for reproductive rights.
Yeah, that's right. We have to make sure that every woman in America has the freedom to make decisions about her own body. And we should also speak plainly about what the Dobbs decision does and what many of these states are doing with their 6-week bans. It's government-mandated pregnancies. Government-mandated pregnancies. We are against government-mandated pregnancies. Overwhelmingly, Americans want women to be able to do and make these decisions for themselves. So I'm for women and their freedom, and I think that's where we're ultimately going to end up.
Just one other comment on that. Come on. Let's be respectful. Be respectful.
Be respectful.
Please, folks.
Be respectful. Be respectful.
Deep breath, everybody, please.
I think. All right, Mark. Mark's up. Let my colleague finish, please. I'm gonna ask Mark. Mark was speaking.
Folks,
we value freedom, also the freedom to leave.
All right. And we can have passionate disagreements. Neither one of us expects everybody in this room or this country to agree with us on this issue or others, but we've got to be respectful, folks. So we respect your opinion, we respect ours. And just one last thing, we all love kids. We all want to have help happy, successful kids. If you look at the record in this country and in other industrialized country for reproductive rights and not having unwanted pregnancies and successful kids, our way works better.
Gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Yeah, the problem with my friend from Ohio's argument is that many of the bills he referenced as having passed are not law. We are on a fast track to an omnibus bill, and it is difficult to champion oversight when House Republicans haven't even sent a subpoena to Hunter Biden. So it's hard to make the argument that oversight is the reason to continue when it sort of looks like failure theater. I yield such time as you may consume to my colleague from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
The gentleman back there is a terrorist sympathizer that has no business in this building. What is happening in Israel is abhorrent. What is happening to the people of Israel should not be defended. Nobody defending Hamas has any business in this building, whether you're elected, whether you're a civilian. It is a disgrace that we allow people to parade that kind of thought in here.
Sorry, I just was like, if I can get audio, then why not? Vish, any comment?
And I want to thank you for that last explanation, because I think that's something that does need to be clear in regards to who Hamas is.
May will come to order.
Nobody's trying to prevent civilians from being killed in Gaza. It's a genocide
chair reminds our guests. The chair reminds our guests today that demonstrations from the audience will not be tolerated, including verbal outbursts. And we again appreciate your right to protest under the Constitution, but we would ask that you do that peacefully and in a style that does not disrupt the proceedings. Thank you. Mr. Meeks.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, because we know that what's going on in the death started when it was Hamas who violated a ceasefire. It was Hamas that committed these heinous acts. And it is Hamas who have stated that these deaths, it's good for them as far as martyrdom, because they will never stop until they destroy Israel. So I think that that's important for the record to be clear. And I think it's also important for the record to be clear because I think the language, and I would ask Secretary Leaf, in regards to the administration talking about a humanitarian pause, which is for the Palestinian people, as opposed to a ceasefire, which benefits Hamas. And I think that most people want to make sure that the innocent Palestinians are giving a safe space and moving forward, and that's why the administration has called for a humanitarian pause. But a ceasefire would only give Hamas, as they have stated, the opportunity to rearm themselves and do what they did on October 7th again, because they said they would do it again and again. Is that accurate?
Ranking Member, that is accurate. If you would permit, I'll elaborate a bit. When the Secretary came out on his visit to the region last week and met with Israeli leaders, at the President's request, he put on the table what we believe is a timeliness for humanitarian pauses. And I do stress pauses because these should be embedded into current operations, and they can be. And those will allow civilians to move out of harm's way. They will allow us to open up the aperture even wider to get a really robust flow of humanitarian assistance into Gaza, and then for it to be delivered to those in need. It also this would also likely support the efforts that we're undergoing to get the release of hostages and get them to safety. A ceasefire, on the other end, at this moment, would leave Hamas still in a position with 200+ hostages, a very large military infrastructure, and the capacity to continue attacks. And by the way, a senior Hamas leader last week made it very clear publicly that they would look to commit an October 7th style massacre again and again and again.
Thank you for that. So let me move to a different place, because I believe also there needs to be a plan in place to ensure that once Israel's military operation against Hamas has concluded, that there will be an entity in place credible to the Gazans who can administer Gaza and provide basic security. And I know that Secretary Blinken has indicated that he thought that the Palestinian Authority might be the appropriate entity. So I want to ask you that question. What is your view on the Palestinian Authority as an appropriate entity to assume control of Gaza in the future? And as well as that, I've talked to a number of others in the region, Saudi Arabia, UAE, et cetera. What can our Arab states do to assist in stabilizing and administering a Gaza in the immediate period following Hamas's removal from power?
So to your first question, Ranking Member, the Palestinian Authority, as we all know, is the only Palestinian government that has come out of the Oslo Accords. It is, whatever its shortcomings, is the government for the Palestinians in the West Bank. We do believe that ultimately Palestinian voices and aspirations have to be at the centerpiece of post-conflict governance and security in Gaza. We are looking at all of these questions right now. We would like to begin those discussions sooner rather than later. I would say our Arab partners, on the one hand, as we heard from them last weekend in Amman, are very focused on the here and now. They're very focused on the issues of the humanitarian crisis, and they're focused on obtaining a ceasefire. We are doing both things. We're focused on the here and now, but we're also looking over the hill past the conflict and what needs to come. And I'm quite confident that we will find support in our common efforts. But I want to stress that we do think the PA is the appropriate place to look for governance eventually.
My time has expired, so I yield back.
Senator Romney, thank you for joining us.
It's impressive to listen to Senator Manchin. He said a lot. I hope we listened carefully to what he had to say, with which I fully agree.
Social security cuts, no commission to cut Social Security.
How about to raise taxes? 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 How about to raise taxes for Social Security? You against that too?
Is he on your staff? What staff are you on?
I think our gentleman, I think the gentleman will be, I got it.
No Social Security cuts. We don't need a smoky back room to cut Social Security benefits. No.
We'll just suspend, folks.
Hi.
Hi, Senator. How are you?
He knows you.
He shows up regularly.
Yeah. Well, let's just say goodbye to our friend who wants to do nothing and leave Social Security beneficiaries with a 20% cut as a result of our inaction.
May I just interject, Mr.
Please.
Chairman? Senator Romney, it must be refreshing to know that that you still animate some folks on the left as well. So
Exactly right. Exactly.
It must be reassuring for you.
Exactly right. Well, I'm actually here to announce our candidacy for.
Senator Romney, thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ranking member. Appreciate the